Okay, so good morning, and today we are going to start with Azure Synapse Analytics, which is a service provided to us by Azure, Microsoft Azure, which is a cloud based, which is a cloud provided to us by Microsoft. Now, let's start with our Azure Synapse Analytics, and let's move to the first slides that we have. That is, what is Azure Synapse Analytics? So Azure Synapse is a cloud-based analytics service that integrates big data and data warehousing. So it means that this Azure service that we have with us, it is an analytics service which is on the cloud, and it helps us to integrate with the big data that we have and the data warehousing service where we can store all that big data. The purpose for this Azure Synapse Analytics is to unify the data storage, analytics, and integration for scalable insights. So, what is this scalable insights? If you ask me, then I would say let us divide this word into two parts. Let's say first is scalability, right? First is scalability, and second is insights. Now, with scalability, I mean that Azure Synapse can, you know, Azure Synapse can handle growing amount of data. This means that if the data is growing, it can handle that amount of data and the computational workloads that it gets with the growing data can handle growing data. And what does insights mean? Insights means that these are the actionable conclusions or the knowledge that can be derived from analyzing this scalable data that we have. So we can say that these are the knowledge that is derived from analyzing the data, knowledge derived from analyzing the data, right? So So let's take an example. Let's take a very basic example. So let's say that there is a retail company that starts analyzing the data, right? So that retail company could be of any type, but let's say that they have started to analyze their data. They are just simply analyzing their data from one region because as of now they are just expanded in a single region. So they are analyzing data from one region only for now, from one region. But let's say what happens that this retail company is expanding itself globally. So what happens that this Azure Synapse service that we have, it can help, it can help that retail company to include all the regions, and it can enable the business to extract the data that we are getting from all the regions that the company has been expanded to. So the so this is how we can get the scalable insights using the Azure Synapse Analytics. And this is what the purpose of the Azure Analytics service is basically. So there are some key features as well, as you can see it in the slide. So it so we have data integration from multiple sources. We can do the real-time processing, and we can also do the batch processing. There are built-in machine learning and AI capabilities in Azure Synapse Analytics. Let's move to the next slide. And In this slide, we have some key components of our Azure Synapse. So the first key component is the data integration. Data integration through the pipelines. And in the pipeline, we have a service that is called Azure Data Factory, which we are going to see in the later lectures. But for now, we can say that through this Azure Data Factory pipelines, we can integrate the data. Then we have a real-time data ingestion with Event Hubs. This is also a service which we are going to explore in the upcoming lecture. Then we have some data storage. So what is data storage? Data storage is used to store the data. It could be structured, it could be unstructured, it could be semi-structured data, as you can see. So there are some SQL data warehouses and there are data lakes and Azure so that we can store the data of any types. Then in the third, we have data analytics. So in data analytics, we have a serverless pool, we have a dedicated pool or the provision query models as it is written here that supports Transact SQL, supports Spark and the Python, which we will see when we are going to work with the notebooks in it. But in the start, we'll be working with Transact SQL. Then and there are some security components in our Azure Synapse as well, through which we can have the end-to-end encryption and we can also integrate the security through the Azure Active Directory. We, we will see that when we will be working with the labs. Now let's move to the next slide. That is, what are the benefits of this particular service, Azure Synapse? So the first benefit is it has a unified platform, which means that it combines a data warehousing and a big data analytics. Then this is scalable. Just a minute. Yes. So this is scalable, and because it is scalable because it can handles the petabytes of data with ease, and this petabytes is a very big word. So it can handle this petabytes amount of data with easily. It is cost effective. Why? Because we are just paying what we are using, and this is what it has written here that it is a pay as you go model, which means that you are just paying for the services that you are using, right? Then then the performance is the optimized query execution, which means that for the query that you are firing up in the notebook, you'll get the answer for it. And 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 when you fire a query, it can give you the answer for a, for the loads of data in just some seconds. Then it can work with Power BI, Azure Machine Learning, and other Azure services easily. So the integration is also a benefit of Azure Synapse because you can integrate this particular service with Power BI, Azure ML, and other Azure services, such as Data Factory, Stream Analytics, Event Hub. There are multiple services that we can integrate with this Azure Synapse. Then we have the security, as we have discussed it, that the data protection is there through end-to-end encryption or through the Azure Active Directory or the Microsoft Enter ID, which is Azure Active Directory or Enter ID. Let's move to the next slide, which is about the use cases of Azure Synapse. So there are multiple use cases. We have just written some of the main use cases that we can see in the real world. And the first one is the business intelligence. In this, we can say the retail sales analysis. We can see the revenue tracking by using the Azure Synapse service. We can do the business intelligence. So it is one of the use case of Azure Synapse. Then we have a predictive analysis. Through this, we can predict the values using the SQL queries or by using Python code. We can predict the analytics for the given data that we have. Then it can process the IoT data. It can detect the fraud as well. It depends how you are using Azure Synapse. It can easily detect the fraud and through the transaction alerting system or through any other thing that we have set up. It can be used to detect the fraud. Then it can also be used in healthcare where we can keep the patient data and we can make an analysis on the patient data. Based on that, it can be used in healthcare as well. Then there are some supported databases that are used in Azure Synapse. So the first is relational database. And this we are going to see most of the time when we are working with the labs, that we are working with the SQL and data. We are going to work with the SQL database. So it provides us SQL-based data warehousing where we can use the relational databases, and we'll see about that in the upcoming lab. Then we have NoSQL databases. It can be integrated with Cosmos DB, which we'll see when we are working in the lab. Then there is a big data storage, which is data lake, which we'll see when we create an Azure storage, right? So there are two types of storage. One is a normal storage account, which is called blob storage, and the other one is Azure Data Lake Gen 2 storage account, which is also called as a data lake. So we are going to integrate our Azure Synapse with the Azure Data Lake. Then there are some third-party databases as well, which can be used with Azure Synapse. Then we have the cost management in Azure Synapse, how the cost can be managed in it. So there are two types. First is a serverless, which we are going to use in the start, where we are just paying per query. Means that whatever query we are using, we are executing. We are paying for that particular query, and then there is a provision. So about provision, there is a dedicated SQL pool in Azure Synapse, which we use to set the computational power. And based on that computational power, we are paying for uh, that particular database, right? So there is a dedicated SQL pool which we can provision in Azure Synapse, which is also known as a data warehouse. So it has a fixed pricing based on the computational power we use. We are going to pay for that particular service. So we are going to see that later in the labs when we'll be performing the labs. Then there are some optimization tips. We can use the lifecycle policies to archive the old data, which is not in use for us. We can archive that particular data and we can save some cost. Then we can monitor the usage of the services using the Azure Cost Management. And then we can also leverage the reserved capacity for discounts as well. Let's move ahead. And then we have some security and compliance. We have talked about the encryption and the Entra ID or the Azure Active Directory integration. There is also the RBAC feature for the access control. The RBAC feature or the role-based access control. We are going to see this in the first lab that we are going to do just after the theory completion. We are going to see the role of RBAC, how RBAC can be used to give the access for our Azure Synapse service. Then we have the integration with other tools. So we can integrate it to Power BI with Azure Data Factory, as you can see here. And then there are third-party tools. Also, there is Azure Machine Learning, where we can integrate our Azure Synapse to predict the advanced. We can do the advanced prediction. Then then how can we create our Azure Synapse? We are going to see this in a bit. And then there are some real world examples for retail, finance, healthcare, and manufacturing. It depends for what we are working on. And then there is the summary where we can say that this Azure Synapse can simplify the data integration, can simplify the storage and the analysis for the given data. It is ideal for a business seekers who are in the business. This is ideal for them to analyze the data and get the reports for their data. It also offers the scalability, security, and the cost effectiveness. So this is our theory for Azure Synapse Analytics. And if you have any questions based on the theory, then you can ask me, or we can just move ahead if there is any
Yeah,
question.
please go ahead. I don't have any queries so far.
Okay, 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 okay. Okay, so with that, we are going to move forward onto the Azure portal. So this is our Azure portal where we are going to start with creating the services that we have that we have with us on Azure cloud, right? So so once we have logged into our portal, then, to log into the portal, we need to visit this particular link. So this is the portal.azure.com. This is just a simple link from where we can directly log into our Azure portal, where we can use the Microsoft Cloud services that it is providing, right? So to create a Synapse workspace, we simply need to search for it. So there are two ways to search for this particular service. Either we can directly search Synapse, right? So here, sorry for that. So we can directly search for Synapse. So here is the service Azure Synapse Analytics. You can directly click on this, and we'll be on this particular page. On this particular page, you can click on the Synapse work, create Synapse workspace, and we'll be on the creation page for it, right? Second method is to click on this hamburger icon and click on this create a resource option. Once you click on this, you will be on the marketplace, right? So this is a marketplace in Azure portal. This is called as the marketplace, where you can find the multiple services that Azure cloud is providing to us, right? As you can see here already, that there are multiple services that we can use, like virtual machine, web apps, database, function app, key vault service, that is Azure Data Factory, and many more services as you can see here, right? So there are multiple services. Now we can, if we are using this portal for the first time, then it is recommended that that use the marketplace to search for what you need, right? So let me write as your Synapse Analytics. It has suggested me that thing. Once I do that, you'll see that that this is the service that I need, and there are other services as well. But we need Azure Synapse Analytics, this one. Click on this, and we'll be inside this particular service where we can use this page to create Azure Synapse Analytics. Now I'm going to click on create. Also, you can read about this particular service using this overview page here. Where are the plans, usage information, and support? What are the ratings and reviews of the different people who have used this particular service? You can also read that as well. Now, let's create our first Synapse Analytic workspace for us. So first thing is that we need to create a resource group. So what is a resource group? Let us talk about it first. So in Azure portal, uh, in Azure portal, first, before creating any server, first we have to create a resource group, right? So for resource group, you can directly search this service resource groups, right? So this is the symbol for our resource group, and this is what you are going to navigate for. So we are on the resource groups. So what happens in this Azure portal? Let me first create it, then we'll talk. So once we have clicked on the create button, we'll be on the creation page for our resource group. This is where we need to give our resource group a name. Let's say demo RG for resource group. And then we can choose a region of our choice. I usually work in North Europe, so I'm choosing that region. Also, if you have multiple subscriptions, then you can use this particular option to change your subscription of your liking. If you only have a single subscription like me, then just choose. Then it will be pre-selected. You do not have to do anything. Then we can skip tags. We do not have to provide tags as of now. And from the review and create page, we can directly click on the create button to create our first resource group. So this is our resource group. So in Azure, or you can say on Azure portal, to work with any service that is on this Azure portal, first we have to create a resource group, and in this particular resource group, each and every resource will be created, right? So this is what a resource group is for, to create other resources that we are going to work on, right? So let me just cut this and come back here. So I have to refresh this to get my resource group. Okay, so once it is refreshed, I'll be able to see my resource group here. Right. So this is my resource group demo RG. I have selected it. We do not have to select manage resource group option here. We can leave it. And then we have to give a unique name to our workspace. Unique name means it should be unique in nature, or you can say it should be a single name that exists. So let's give it with Synapse.
So this unique name will be our subscription unique or globally unique.
Yes, this unique name should be globally unique. This is a name
Okay.
for our workspace. So it should be globally unique. It should not match with any other name. As you can see, it is suggesting us that this particular name is not available, which means there are some prerequisites that the name should be 150 character longs and other things, that it should only contain the lower letters or numbers or hyphens, right? So these are the requirements that it is saying to us, but the name should be globally unique. It should not match with any other name. If it is matching, then it will directly say that this name is not available for us. So for that, we have to provide it a unique name. So we can add some random numbers and some letters as well. So to make it a unique. As you can see, the name is now unique and it is available to us. So Synapse Workspace 121H is available, and I'm going to stick with this. Then the region should be same as your resource group. So North Europe is what I'm going to choose. Then we have to create a storage account, right? So this is a primary storage account that we have to create. It is a necessity because this is the primary storage account that is going to connect with our Azure Synapse, and in this particular, so sorry, sorry for the interruption. So this particular service Azure, we are going to create a storage account for our Azure Synapse. So this is a primary storage account that is going to connect with our Azure Synapse. And in this primary storage account, what will happen are temporary storage, temporary data that Azure Synapse will create will be get stored in this particular storage account. That is why we need a data lake, or you can say a Gen 2 storage account for us, and we have and this will be get attached with our Synapse workspace. So to create it, we have to just simply click on this create new button and give it a name. So we can say, and one more thing, this name should be globally unique. So this also should be a globally unique name. So we can give it a same name, let's say workspace storage 121H. So yes, so this name is available to us. Just click on this OK button and it should be created. Then we need a file system. We can just say Synapse file data, whatever we want to. Synapse. Okay. Click on this OK button, and now we have our storage account. And then also we have a file system name. So this will be attached with our Synapse workspace, and a storage account will also be created once we have a provisioned everything. So, do you have any question till here?
No.
Okay. So let's move ahead to the next step, which is security. So in security, if we need to give it a username and a password, and we can use this particular username and password to log into our Azure Synapse workspace in a third party area or when we are integrating it, right? So we'll be seeing this username and password in the later cases, but for now, we can keep this particular admin login, or you can say the username default what it is. We just need to give it a password, so and it should match with each other, right? So once we have given the password, we can move to the next step, which is networking. In the networking, we just need to confirm that this particular option, all connection from all IP addresses is enabled, so that our endpoint is available pretty much, and we can also restrict some permissions. But for now, we can just let this option get enabled, and let's move to the tabs option and go to the review and create area, where we can just review what we have uh, what we have choose for the settings, right? So we can just review the settings for our Synapse workspace, and once we have reviewed all the things, we can just click on this create button. Also, if you see in the product details, this is the cost that we are getting, but this is serverless SQL, which is estimated cost per TB. So it is a cost per TB. So as we will not be having this much amount of data, so we are not going to pay this much for this particular service. It is just an estimated cost that we get. It depends on the data that we are using. So let me click on the create button, and let's wait for some time until this particular service is getting created. Okay, so the deployment is in progress, but I believe there is an error which says that the deployment has failed because this particular storage account. Okay, so this is the issue that I'm getting here is because of this particular subscription that I have here. So this subscription does not allow me to create a storage account directly by using the Synapse Analytics. So to get resolved with this issue, what I can do, I can simply create a storage account in another tab and a simply new resource before creating the Synapse Analytics, and then we can use that storage account to connect or to attach to our Synapse Analytics. This is also another way in which we can attach the storage account rather than creating it directly inside the Synapse Analytics. So what I did, I click on this hamburger icon. I looked for the storage account, so I can find it here. It is same in all the accounts, right? So just click on this storage account, and you will be on the creation. You'll be on the page where you can see if you have any existing storage account. If not, then you can click on create button to create a new storage account. So our resource group is automatically selected now. Now we have to give a unique name. Let me just copy my previous name and let's check. Okay, so it has been verified. So it is available as it is not giving us any error. Then in the redundancy, we have to select locally redundant. That's it. and we can leave every settings as they are. So what we did, we just confirm that our resource group is demo RG, which we have created, and then we provided a storage account name to our storage account. Then we have confirmed that the region is North Europe, which we are working in. Then for the performance, we are keeping it to standard so that we are not paying much. We are not choosing the premium. And then in the redundancy, we use the LRS option. We do not need to give it much option for that. Then we have to move to the second step, that is the advanced tab here. And in this particular advanced tab, we have to enable this particular feature, which is enable hierarchical namespace. You have to click on this. So once we have done that, this particular option, this enabling hierarchical namespace, what will it do? It will enable our normal storage account to create a data lake Gen2 storage account just by enabling this particular feature. So what this feature is doing, we'll talk about it. After enabling this feature, just move to the review and create option. We do not have to, you know, we can leave all other settings for networking, data protection, encryption as they are, and just click on this create button to deploy your storage account. Right, so we were talking about the hierarchical namespace option. So that option enables a normal storage account to upgrade itself, and it converts that normal storage account into a data lake Gen2 storage account. How? A normal storage account to does not have a feature to create directories or to store the objects in it in the form of directories. It can just it will be used for just simple storage account where you can store your unstructured data easily. But in a Gen2 storage account, you can store the data in the form of directories. So as you can see, our deployment has been completed. So now we'll be able to connect this particular storage account with our Synapse workspace now. Let me refresh this, and okay, so this is not the case here. Let us go back to Azure Synapse Analytics and click on this create button to start creating this particular service again. So let me choose my resource group. Then let us give give it a name, Synapse workspace 121H. I believe this should be available. Yes, it is. Then for the storage account, we can directly choose the storage account now because we have created one. And for the file system, we can create a new file system for it. Just click on this OK button. Now we have connected this particular storage account. Then on the security again, we have to provide a password. Okay, so once the password matches, we can just move to the review and create page. And now we can click on this create button, and you'll see that this time there is no issue creating your workspace. I don't know why it happens, but in this particular subscription, I'm not able to directly create a storage account using the Synapse Analytics. I have to provision a storage account separately. Then I'm able to create or deploy my Synapse Analytics. Now you can see that the first resource has been created. If we wait for 2 to 3 minutes, I will be able to see that our service has been created. So up till now, do you have any questions? Yeah, so we can wait for some time until our deployment is in progress. Okay, so our deployment has been complete now. So if I click on this go to resource group button, so you can see I'm on my resource group, and here I can see there are two services that has been provisioned as of now. One is my Synapse workspace, and other one is my storage account, right? So let me go to my workspace. So this is the dashboard for my Synapse Analytics, where I can see its name, the status, location, subscription, IDs, and all. So this is the SQL username, and this is the endpoints that we have here. We can use these endpoints to connect our Synapse workspace with the third-party tools. Right, so these are the endpoints through which we can connect our, our Synapse workspace with the third-party tools by giving the username and password to them with this particular endpoint. So and if you scroll down and look at this Getting Started tab, so here you will see that there is an option for you to open the Synapse Studio, right? So if I click on this, you will see that we are on a new page, or you can say we are on a new tab now. And here our Azure Synapse Analytics Studio is being opened. So let's just wait until it is loading. Okay, so it is done loading. So this is our workspace. This is our Azure Synapse Analytics workspace, or you can also say it as the Synapse Studio. Whatever you like, you can call it. So this is our workspace where we can use the pipelines. We can visualize the data using Power BI. As you can see here, we can run the SQL queries, and there are many things that we can do here. So if I expand this left pane, so we have some options here. First is the home option, where we are on the home page for our workspace. And if we scroll down, that there are some feature showcases that it has given. There is a community tab which we can visit by clicking on this option that we are not going to do right now. Then we have the data tab. In the data tab, we can see our workspace. In this workspace, we are going to see the databases that we are going to create. We'll see in the workspace tab here in the data section. Then in the linked area, we'll be able to see what are the services that are linked with our Azure Synapse. Right. So in the link, for the time being, we are just seeing that we have our data lake Gen 2 storage account that has been linked with our Synapse Analytics. So if you remember, while creating this Azure Synapse, we linked, or you can say we when we had two options. Either we can create a storage account, or we can directly attach a already created storage account. So we attach this. So this is a primary storage account for our Synapse Analytics. So if I expand this, I would say that it has nothing. So this, as you can see, Synapse primary. So this is our storage account, uh, uh, which has the prime. This is called as the primary storage account for our Azure Synapse Analytics. Also, it will be containing the temporary files. So as of now, we do not want to go inside of it or look anything because it is just an empty storage account. You can leave it as of now. Then the other tab is the develop tab. So in this develop tab, we have the options to create a SQL script, a KQL script, a notebook, or you can say a Spark notebook. We can create data flows. We can create Apache Spark job definitions, and we can import and browse the gallery. There are some options which we can do in this develop tab. Then the fourth tab is for the integration. So in the integration, we can work with the pipelines. We can link some connections. There is a copy data tool activity, which we'll see in the upcoming labs. Then the other options are seen. And then we have the monitor tab. In this monitor tab, we can the we can see and monitor our pipelines. We are going to use this section to view and monitor our pipelines mainly for that. Also, we can analyze or we can monitor our SQL pools as well, which we are going to work with. Currently, we only have a single built-in SQL pool and it is a serverless SQL pool, right? We can use this monitor section to monitor our pools as well. Then in the end, we have the manage tab where we can manage our SQL pools, Apache Sparks, and other resources as you can see here. We can manage all them through the manage tab, right? So as of now, we do not have any data to work in our Azure Synapse. So to get the data, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create another storage account, right? So this is our storage account. This is a primary storage account that has been attached to the Synapse Analytics. I'm not going to use this account to store my business data, right? So I'm going to create another account where I'm going to store my business data. So the process is same. I just need to give a unique name. So I can say, let's just use this, what it is suggesting to me. The storage account 1201, okay, it has been selected. We can change it to LRS, the redundancy. The rest things are same as before. And then in the advanced tab, we have to enable this particular feature, hierarchical namespace, to make our storage account as a data lake Gen 2 storage account. Then directly move to the review and create option here. And we can click on this create button to create our storage account, a Gen 2 storage account. So we can wait for 2 minutes max, and our deployment will be succeeded. Okay, so our deployment has been succeeded. Let's go to our storage account. So this is our storage account as you can see here. And this we can do multiple things. The most important is this particular option. It says data lake storage. If I click on this, you'll see that I directly jump to the containers, which I could have done through the left pane and click on this container button to go to come to my containers page, right? So if I click on this plus container, I can create a new container. And these in these containers, what we do, we usually store, use them to store the objects that we want to store in our storage account. So to store anything in it, we have to create containers. In these containers, we can store our files, our data, whatever we want to store. So we created a container first, then we have this data container with us. If I go inside of it, I have the option to upload the files that I want to upload here. So if I click on this, and then we have an option to drag and drop files, or we can browse for them in our local system. So this is our local system. Let me go to the files. These are the files. So first, I am uploading a CSV file here. This is a CSV file whose name is activity log 1. So I'm going to upload this particular CSV file. And what we are going to do, we are going to read data from this CSV file into our Azure Synapse Analytics. This is what we are going to do. So this is our data that we are going to read. So let me go back to my workspace. So this is my workspace. Now, if I go to the data tab here, you can see there is no way for me to connect to my secondary storage account that I just created. So to connect with this particular storage account, what I have to do, I have to create a linked service between my Azure Synapse and my storage account. So I have to create a linked service, or you can say a linked connection between both, between these two services, and by that I'll be able to connect both of them to work with each other. So how we can do that? We can come to the data tab right here. In this data tab, we can click on this plus button here. Using this plus button, we can create a SQL database, a lake database, or we can connect to external data, right? So if I click on this, you can see here there are five options for me to connect to the external data. So first is a blob storage. We do not have any blob storage as of now. The second one is the Cosmos DB. The other one is also for Cosmos DB, but different sequels. Then we have Data Explorer for Cosmo, and we have the Gen2 Data Lake. So this is what we are going to use right for now. So I can click on this to select this particular thing, right? So either I can click on this a single time and click on this continue button to get to this screen, or I can double click on this to come to create a new linked service so that I can connect my Azure Synapse with my Azure Data Lake Gen 2. So I can do this in either way, whichever I like. So to provide a name to our linked service, what we can do, we can directly choose the name of our storage account to name this particular linked service. And why I am doing that? Because when we will be working in this and we are going to move ahead, then you'll see that there are much complexity here with the increasing of resources, data, and all. So we cannot remember the name of each and every linked service that we are going to create here. So it is good to give the name of the storage account rather than giving a random name to our linked service. It is good to give the name of the storage account itself. It can help us to remind or remember that this particular service is that we are using this particular service as a link service for the connection between our Synapse and the storage account. So this is the best practice to give the name of your storage account. Then if we scroll down, we can keep everything as it is, and we can select our subscription here, and then we have to select the storage account name. So as we have given the name workspace storage, okay, sorry. So this is what I needed to give the storage account 1201. Okay, now it is here. So this is the name that I have given to my link service, and this is the name that I am going to select as the the linked connection between the storage account and the JOS map. So once we have done that, we can click on this test connection button to test the connection between our Synapse and the storage account. So once it is saying that connection is successful, it means that the connection that we have created between our Synapse and the storage account is now successful. We can go ahead and click on this create button to create this particular connection. So now, and from the notification, you can see that the connection is successfully created. So this particular bell icon is used for the notification. In the notifications, we can get or we can see each and every notifications that we get by creating something or by deleting something or by adding something. There are multiple scenarios through which we can see the notification, right? So let's just leave it, click on this close button. And if I click on this three dots and click on this refresh button, now you will see that instead of just one storage account, that was the primary storage account that we have. Now we have the other storage account that we added just now. This is our storage account. This is the data container that we have created in our storage account. We go on to this. So I'll be able to see my activity log 01 CSV file here directly instead of going back to my storage account and looking at this particular thing. I can do this directly now from my Azure Synapse because these both have been connected together. That they have a link between each other. We are using that particular link to view the content inside our storage account. So till here, if you have any questions, you can ask me.
So, if we modify some data from here, from the Synapse,
Mhm.
so will that also be modified at the storage account level, or will it be here only?
Okay, so let me give you an example. If I click on this upload button, right? So if I click on this upload button, if I look for the files, right? So let's say this is the Parquet file I was looking for. Click on this upload button. You'll see that the Parquet file has been uploaded here, right? If I go to my storage account, go to the container, inside my data container, I will be able to see the Parquet file. So
Okay,
yes,
so it's both ways.
yes, it is for both ways. So I can
Uh,
directly delete this file from here, or I can delete the Parquet file from my Synapse also. So I have deleted it. I come back here, I refresh it, the file is gone. So it works for both ways. So if there is a link connection between both the services, then we can use anyone to add data or to delete data. But there's a catch. We cannot create a container in it. Right. So to create a container, we have to come back to our storage account. This is the catch here. We can add
oh,
files, we can delete file inside a container, but we can only create a container inside a storage account.
okay.
Okay, so now moving ahead. So this is our file. If I right click on this, I can preview the data inside my file using this preview button, right? So this is the data inside my file. Let me close it. And also I can choose this option which says new SQL script, select top 10 rows, top 100 rows, sorry. So if I click on this button, you'll see that I am inside a SQL script, right? So, and also I have a SQL script right here. And if I run this particular script, what will happen? I'll be able to see the data that is inside my container, or you can say that is in the file, in this particular file, using this particular query. So if I run this query, so okay, so we are getting an error right before getting the data. We are getting an error. Why is that? This is because the storage account that we have added externally to this to the Azure Synapse. So what happened here is there are some security. There is a security in between these two services, which is blocking Azure Synapse to go inside this particular file and fetch the data from that file onto the canvas that we have here right now. So to avoid this particular thing, we have to attach a particular role to our storage account. Then only our Azure Snaps will be able to go inside our storage account and not create and fetch the data inside our particular file, right? If I go to my storage account and go to access control and IAM, so this is for my storage account. If I come here and click on this add button and add a role assignment for it. So what I am doing, I am adding a particular permission so that my Synapse will be able to go inside the file, the activity log file, and fetch the data from that file and show that data to me onto the canvas of my Synapse Studio. So what rule I am going to add? I am going to add the storage blob data reader role. So this is the role that I am going to add. So it is a data reader role through which we can just read the data inside the file. If I select this, go to the next option. So to add a role inside Azure, we have to first select the role that we have selected. Then we have to select a member. A member could be anyone, it could be a user, and it could be the owner of the account itself. So for now, as we are the owner, but because of the permissions that Azure have typically created for its services, being the owner also, we do not have the privilege to directly get the access into the file. So the member that I'm going to assign right now as the owner of this particular account. So what I can do, I can search for it, and this is the owner, right? So this is the owner for this particular account. I can choose the name of the owner and then go to the next option, that is condition. I do not want to add any condition. I can move to the review and assign page and click here. What will happen? This particular role will be assigned to the user that we have chosen, right? So this is the role. So if you come to the role assignment, you will be able to see this particular role, right? So this is a storage blob data reader. So this is the role that we have created just now, and we have assigned the user to this particular role, right? So this is how we can create a role and assign to it, and this is how the RBAC works, right? So if I come back to my workspace, and now if I run this once more, okay, so there is the it is not able to see it because I just have added this role. I have to wait for some time. So sometime I means 1 to 2 minutes max to max, or what I can do, I can just close this script and discard it. I can click on the refresh button to refresh the whole page and then come back inside of my data container where I have my CSV file and choose to select the top 100 rows for my activity log 01 CSV file and then run the script again once more. Okay, so still I'm not getting. So what I can do, I can wait for some minute, or I can, I can be stubborn and click on the run button again and again. So once in a while, I'll be able to succeed here and I will be able to get the data. So, okay, so I think being stubborn works as now it is giving us the data, right? So this is our data. This is the data that we have right now, right? So this is what we were expecting. So this is how we can get the data in our using just using the CSV file, right? So this is the data that is inside the CSV file, and we are getting the data in the terms of rows and columns here, right? So this is how we can get the data, and for that we have to attach this particular row to see the data. So do you have any questions?
No, nothing so far.
Okay. So we have completed, you can say, the first part of what we are going to work in our Azure Synapse. So this is so far the first part for this. Now we are moving to the second part, which will be creating the tables inside our serverless SQL pool. Or you can say not just creating the databases, some tables, and then we are going to use our files to fetch data inside our tables. So we are going to do that now. So for that, what I am going to do, I have to create a table for this. So let me move ahead and open some data. Let's just wait a second. So this is it, I believe. Okay. So what we have done so far is we have uploaded the file onto our storage account, and you can see that. So this is our file. This is what we are going to use. Now let me close this as well to clear the canvas. So this is our develop tab. This is our develop tab. We are inside the develop tab right now. What I'm going to do, I'm going to click on this plus button. I'm going to choose a SQL script. So this is a SQL script, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to change its name. I would say external table CSV, because I'm going to create an external table for my CSV data, right? To create an external table, there are multiple steps. Let me just copy the whole thing and explain it to you one by one, right? So to create uh, the table, the external table, there are some steps to do that. The first step is to create a database. Let me zoom in a little. Okay, so first we have to create a database for our table, right? So where we are going to store our table inside this particular database. So we are creating a database. The name of the database is AppDB. So if I select this and run here, so I'll be able to uh, so as you can see here, the query has been successfully executed. It means that our database is has been created now. So I am going on to the data tab here. I was on the develop tab. Now I am on the data tab. If I just try and refresh it here. Okay, so let me click on this publish button. So this publish all button is used for for saving everything that uh, you have done so far in the SQL scripts, right? So this option is only available when you are working with the SQL scripts, or you can say the SQL script, notebooks, KSQL, and the integration tab. So this option will be available to you. Using this option, you'll be able to save everything that you have done so far. So if I click on this publish button and save it, so what will happen? The script that I just pasted here, or you can see the code that I have just pasted here, is now saved here. So if I click on this refresh button, the things that I have created will not be gone. They will be here. If I hadn't published them, then when I click on this refresh button, what will happen? Everything would have gone so far. So as you know, we have created a database. So what we can do, here you can see an option called use database. If I click on this, I can see two databases now. First was the master that we were using before, but now as we have created our own database, so we are going to use this AppDB now, right? So as you can see, I changed this particular database and it is saying me to publish it. So what will happen if I publish this? So this script is saved, but the change that will happen, it is with the database. Whenever whenever in the future I will open this particular script, the database will be selected as AppDB instead of the master. Also, I wanted to show you this particular thing, and as I was telling in the start, if we come back to the data tab, right? So this is the data tab. Inside the data tab, we have a workspace section, and now we have a SQL database here, which was not in the start. If I expand this, now we have our AppDB. Inside our AppDB, currently we have nothing. We have just created a particular database. So it has assumed that there will be a table, there will be a resource, views, schemas, and security for this database. So it has created these all beforehand for me. So this is what I wanted to show you, that once you have created your own database, you will be able to see that in the workspace section in the data tab. This is what I wanted to show you. So coming back to our script, once we have created our database, then we have to create our data source. So what is a data source? So a data source in Synapse is basically the data where you are fetching the components, right? So for our external data source, we are getting the data from our data container, which is inside our storage account, right? So what I will do, I will just simply copy the name of my database and paste it here. That's it. Our work has been done here. The location, we have given the location for our database. So if you are thinking that I had a predefined location here, if you want to get the original location, what you can do from your storage account, just a minute, let me refresh it. Okay, now, so in the storage account, right? So this is our storage account that we are using to store our business related data. If I go inside my container, so this is the file that I'm going to use to fetch the data into our Synapse Analytics. So if I click on this particular file, I'll be on the overview page for this file. And inside this, I have a URL section. So using, I can copy this particular URL, come back to my Synapse Analytics. I can copy this whole thing here and I can copy this whole thing here and I can paste it, right? So what I need to do, I just need to remove the file name here. I just need to keep it till the data. So this is how I can get this particular URL here. If you want to, if you are creating everything from scratch, then this is how you can get this URL for your container. So now we are going to create our external data source from where we are going to fetch the data into our table. So this is a necessary step that we have to perform. So as you can see here, the query is executed successfully, which means that our external data source has been created inside our app DB, which is our database that we are using. So also remember one thing, whenever you have created your database, you have to change the database from here. I'll show you how and why I am saying that. Once we have created our external data source, then we have to create the external file format for our CSV file, right? So what this is the name for our external file format, and what we are saying here, the format type is delimited text. There are some format options. The field terminator is a comma because it is a comma separated file, and the first row that you are going to start with is the second row itself. Why? Because the first row inside our CSV file is the header row, so which we are going to uh, decide that this is the header row, and below this we are getting the data. So to have a quick understanding for it, we are inside our CSV file, right? So this is the overview. If I go to the edit section here, I'll be able to view the data inside my CSV file. So we have said that you have to start with the second row, right? So this is the second row, and you can see the first row is the header row where we have the column names, right? The correlation ID, operation name, status, event category. So this is why we are saying that the first row will be the second row that you are going to choose, right? And then uh, now I'm going to create my file format. I'm going to run this query to create this, right? So the query has been executed. It means that our file format has been created now. If I scroll down a little more, then I have my table that I'm going to create. So let me just create it first, then I'll tell you. Right, so my table has been created here. So what I did is I am creating an external table. Why an external table? because we are using a serverless SQL pool in our Azure Synapse. So as we have read, the serverless SQL pool is where we are paying per query. So this serverless SQL pool is a place where the data inside a table is not persisted. The data is being fetched from the storage account. We are not keeping the data inside the table. The table itself is an empty table until and unless there is a file from where we can fetch the particular data into our table. That is why we are calling it an external table where we have defined everything, the columns, and what is the variable character for the column, as you can see here in this particular table. So we have created our table, and here you can see we have defined the location inside our table, which is our activity log 01.csv. Instead of defining the location directly inside the location tab, we are giving the location here itself. Then we are saying what is the data source and the file format which we just created before creating our table. So as you know, we have created our table, right? So if I just select this whole thing and click on this run button, so you will see that we'll be able to see the data in a particular format now. We'll have the columns and the data inside the table. Right, so these are the columns that we have created using the table, and below them we have the data that is inside our CSV file. This is how we can create it. So, do you have any questions here?
So we can read our data like via SQL queries by going here, or also we can read it from the data tab itself, right?
Yeah. So what we did here, we are first. Oh, okay. So this data tab is for we use this particular data tab to view the data for ourselves, right? So
Mhm.
what I did in the start was just to get familiar with the Synapse analytics. I viewed this data as by selecting the top 100 rows. So what is happening here is, if I view this once more, you'll see that I'm getting the column as C1, C2, not in the header format. Right, so it is a CSV file. We are just getting the data from here itself. And by getting the data, I mean that there is no table, nothing has been created. We are just getting the plain old data. And based on this data, we cannot perform any queries, right? So on this by getting the data from the data tab, this data is just the data. We cannot perform any queries on this particular data. But if we have created an external table for this particular data, then we can run the queries as per our demand. As you can see here, I am selecting the operation name. I'm selecting the count of the operation name as the count of operation from the activity log table, right? So this is the name of our table that we have given here. So and we are saying that group this particular thing by status. So as you can see in the results, I have everything that I have the result as per the query, as per our requested format. But
Oh,
when we are working here, we cannot do this particular thing. We can just view the data. So this is the difference here.
oh,
Okay,
got
so
it.
let me close this and let me publish everything to the save the content here. So the data has been saved here now. Now this is this is one thing from where we can create a table for our CSV file, right? So this is a single scenario. Now I am going to work with a different file, right? So the different file by that I mean is I am going to use a Parquet file, right? So this is the Parquet file. So what I did, I uploaded a Parquet file from my system to my storage account, right? So now I have a Parquet file as well. If I come back here, I close this. So as if I go to the develop section, you'll see that inside the SQL script, I have my CSV table script here. So I can get it whenever I want to until I have my storage account with me. So if I come back to the data and refresh this, inside the data tab, I'll be able to see the Parquet file as well. So the issue with the Parquet file is that we are not able to see the data directly. Right? It's because the data is in the binary format. We are not able to read this data. Right? So this data is unreadable. We cannot read it directly from the file. But for the CSV data, we can read it directly from this particular CSV file in our storage account itself. So now to read this particular Parquet data, we are going to use the Synapse Analytics and we are going to perform the same things for our Parquet file, but the things are different for this particular file here. So if I, select the top 100 rows one more time, so you will see that the format is changed a little. So it is selecting top 100 rows from this from our Parquet file. And if I run this, I will be able to get the data and now I am able to read my data, right? But to work on this, I have to create an external table and I have to do everything as per the procedure to get my data in a proper manner. So we can read this particular data using the open row set function. So this is also a feature. This open row set is a function in this particular. We can use this function in Azure Synapse to read the files from our storage account. We'll discuss about this function later in the labs. So so this is the data which is inside our Parquet file. Basically, if I tell you that the data is the same as the CSV file, we just converted the CSV file into this particular Parquet file, and so that we can work on the Parquet file. We can work on another scenario that contains a different file module, right? So we are going to work with the Parquet now. So we have worked with CSV. Now we are going to work with Parquet data. So for that, first let me close everything and come to the develop section to create a new SQL script, right? And now, whenever you create a new SQL script in a serverless SQL pool, what happens is we always have to change our database. So use database, we are not going to use our master database. We are going to use the app.db that we created for our previous lab. And let me change the name as well, external table Parquet, because this time we are going to work with the Parquet file. Let's just give it a name like this. Okay, so let me just bring the code here directly and then discuss everything about the code. So in this code, okay, one more thing I want to show you, and that is if I go to the IAM, go to the role assignment. Currently, I am in my storage account. What I am doing here is I am removing the storage block data reader rule. So if I have removed this particular role, then know that I won't be able to read the data. I won't be able to read the data now. If I try to read the data inside my Parquet file, I should get an error. It is not happening now, but it will happen in some time. Once the cache memory has been cleared, then I'll be able to show you that. Let me first publish everything, then it will be easier for me to show you that. Okay, so publishing has been done. Let me refresh my page and let me go back to the link service that have my data container. Inside my data container, I have my Parquet file. And if I try to view the data, I should get an error. Okay, so the cache memory has been saved, because of which I'm not able to see the data. I'm able to see. Okay, now the memory has been cleaned and we have the new memory now. So as you can see, we are getting the error now. Why? Because we have removed the data reader role, which was particularly assigned so that we can get the access from our storage account to to fetch the data from the that file that we are using. So now you know that we do not have any sort of permissions to access the data from our storage account. So for the first thing that we are going to do by before working with the Parquet file is that first we are going to drop our external table, then we are going to drop the external data source. Why? Because they are already being created for the CSV file, and we will not be able to uh, work with the previous table or the external data source. Why? Because we are going to use the same name for it. That is why we have to drop them. So once they have been dropped, then we can start creating the necessary things for our Parquet file as well. So first thing is that we are going to do is to create a master key. First, we are going to create a master key so that we can create a a password, or you can say this is an encryption password which we have to create so that we can create the scoped data credential. So to create the database scoped credentials using the SAS token that I'm going to show you how, we before creating this particular thing, we have to create a master key. So this is a necessary step, that we have to create a master key for the scoped credential. So what is this scoped credential? So a scoped credential, you can think of it as key, the key that we are going to use. You can think of it as a key that we are going to use for our you can say for the to access the file inside a storage account. We are going to use it as a key, right? So we are going to use, we are going to use a SAS token. SAS stands for shared access signature. So we are going to use this particular token to access our to access the data inside the file instead of using the storage blob data reader role. We are going to use this. So let me see. Okay, so I have already created it. So to create a scoped credential using the SAS token, what I need to do, I need to go back to my storage account, and if I scroll down to network security and networking tab, here I can see a tab for shared access signature. I can go to this. From here, I can choose the blob service. The blob service is the service that we were using to create containers and work with them. Now, what I am doing, I am just selecting the permissions that I want to give to my SAS token, right? So by giving the permission, this is what the permissions what will decide what we can do. So what I am doing, I am allowing the blob service, which is the container service as well. What the services types I am allowing? I'm allowing the service, container, and the object type. Then what are the permissions? Read, write, and list. This is the permission that we are going to use, and we can disable this. Also, a SAS token is only valid for 8 hours. As you can see, if I am starting it from the 12:29, it will the life of this particular SAS token will end at 8:29. So the SAS token is is basically this particular SAS token is valid for 8 hours only. Now we are going to use the HTTPS only protocol, and the basic things we are keeping everything as it is, and we can click on this generate SAS string, right? So this is the SAS token that we need to use. We can ignore the connection string and the blob service SAS URL. We are going to use the SAS token. We'll copy it, come back to our Synapse workspace, and just scroll it till here and paste it. Once we have done this, we can create this as well. Run the command, and now you can see our scoped credential has been created. Now after that, what I need to do, I need to create an external data source. Like we did in the for the CSV file, we created a external data source for it. This time we are going to create an external data source for our Parquet file. The step is same. We just need to copy the storage account name and paste it here in this particular link, and then we can run this command to create the external data source. So our external data source also has been created. Then we have to create a file format for our Parquet file. So like we did, like we created this for our CSV file as well. At that time, we were using some other type to create the file format for our CSV file. For the Parquet file also, there is another formatting type, right? The format type is Parquet. Then we have to use a data compression technique. We have to give the uh, the the name of the data compression technique that we have used to compress the Parquet file. So whenever we convert a Parquet file from a CSV file, there is a data compression technique that is responsible to convert our Parquet file from a CSV file. So a Parquet file is a compressed file which contains a much less, which consume much less data in comparison to a CSV file. So this Parquet file is a compressed file. Because of that, we have to provide the data compression technique that we have used to convert this Parquet file. Now, once we have created the file format also, then we are going to create the that external table. So for that, just need to select the table and run the script. So our table has been created. Now if I fetch the data inside my table, I can do that now. If I click on this run button, and you can see here that the data is being fetched properly here. So we have the data which we needed here. If I just scroll down here once more and show you one thing, that is, this time we have used the scoped credential in form of the SAS token. So we have not used the what we can say, the data reader rule, the storage blob data reader rule. Instead of that, we have used the SAS token, and this particular SAS token we can say is much more secure than that. We can say that both of them have their own perspective of security for that, and like we are using a scoped credential, we can choose for how much we can choose how much validity a SAS token can have, right? So once the validity is over, you cannot access the data, right? Or if I say this, we are here, and if I create a new SAS token, I believe that this SAS token will be expired also, because we have created a new one instead of this. So this will not be a valid SAS token for our data to to see our data. So, do you have any questions till here?
No, all good.
All good. Okay. So, so far we have worked with the CSV file, we have worked with the Parquet file. Then we also have an option to work with multiple Parquet file as well. Let me open the portal in a new tab. I do not want to expire my SAS token right now. So if I go to the storage accounts once more, I open the storage account of mine that I'm working and go to the containers, and inside the data container, if I delete my CSV file, right, and upload one another Parquet file that I have right now with me, and click on this upload button. Okay. So now you can see that I have two Parquet files now, right? So currently I'm having a single Parquet file that is activity log 01, and if I just run the count aggregate function here. So 5436 is the number that I get. So 5436 is the total number of rows that I have inside this particular file. So I can say that inside my activity log 01 file, I have this much number of rows. Now what happens if I want to read the data? I want to read the data from both of the Parquet files. Means that we are going to work with the multiple files here in Azure Synapse. We are going to work with multiple files. Also, I wanted to show you one thing, that is I have deleted my log activity log 01 file, right? Now, if I run this, what should happen? Okay, so as you can see, the activity log is not accessible because the location does not exist, or it is using by some another process, which means that if I just let me see one thing more to show you. Okay, let me run this. Right, so the same error is here. It means that that I was telling you that the data is not persisted inside the table. The data is being fetched from the storage account in case of the serverless SQL pool, right? So if I deleted my file, what happened here is that it was not able to get the file location, and I was just and it wa- and it because there was no file, so it was not able to get the location of the file, and I was not able to see the data. But once I have uploaded my file back, you can see I have my data. So this means that the data is not stored inside the table itself. It is just being fetched from our storage account. I also wanted to show you that. Now, once I have done that, what I need to do, I am going to work with both of the Parquet files. And how can I do that? I have created most of the things. What I just need to do, I just need to drop my external table as of now. So what can I do? I can just drop my external table, that is activity log, right? So I can just drop this. That's it. Once I have dropped my external table, yes. So I have dropped my external table and I have to create it once more. But what I am going to do now is that I am going to remove the name you see here, and I'm going to use the wildcard character asterisk. So I'm going to use this asterisk symbol, the wildcard character or the star symbol, to say to say it that the location that you are going to choose, this asterisk symbol, what it is doing, it is saying that choose everything, choose everything inside the data container which ends with dot parquet, which ends with dot parquet in its name. So this asterisk symbol is doing that particular thing. Okay. So now you can see the query has been executed. Means that our table has been recreated. Now if I click on this, if I run the select statement once more, I am able to see my data, right? So as I showed you before, when I run the count statement to get the count of my rows, it was 5436. I believe it should be more now. Yes. So as you can see, the number of rows has been increased from 5436 to 12381. So this means that we can read the data from a multiple Parquet files. It is not just limited to, sorry, it is not just limited to the to it is not just limited to a single file. It can be expanded to work with the multiple files. So this is how we can work with it, right? So we have seen two scenarios, and in both of the scenarios we have worked with some things. Now there is the third and the final scenario for today, and that is going to be the open row set function. We are going to work with the open row set function for ourselves. And for now, let me close this, come back to my data container, and I am going to upload another file. This is the file that I'm going to upload, and this is a JSON file. So this time, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new, you can say a new SQL script, and this time I am going to read the data from the JSON file that I have right here. So how I'm going to do that? First thing first, let me go to the develop section and create a new SQL script, right? So let me call it open row set and publish it so that it could be saved here. Oh, so it is saved now. Okay. So one more thing I forgot, I have to change the database as well. So if I want to work, I'm working in AppDB, so I'm going to use AppDB now. Not going to use any other database. Just a minute. As we were discussing about the open row set function, so let me come back here, and we are going to work with this particular thing. And what we did, we uploaded the JSON file here, and now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to bring up the whole code here, and then we are going to discuss about this particular function, that what is it doing, right? Okay, so so what, let me discuss first thing, and that is that what is this open row set function, right? So what this function is doing here. So open row set function is a function in SQL that allow us, or you can say allow the users, or whoever is using this service, to query the data from remote locations. So remote location in our case is the Azure Data Lake, or you can say the Azure Gen2 storage account. So this is in our case the remote location is a data lake. So if I come back to my data and open my JSON file and copy the link for my data and change it to give it a perfect location to view the data, right? So this is the perfect location. So this is my data lake account name, and this is the file from which we are going to read the data, right? So this is a JSON file, and we are going to read the data from this file using the open row set function. And what this function is doing, it is simply giving us the it is simply giving us the it is giving us the ability to read the data directly from the remote location, or you can say from the from where we are going to read it, or not just read it. You can say from where we want to get the data. We want to see the data, the location, and the remote location could be anything. In our case, it is storage account. So let me just select this particular statement and run this. So I'll be able to see the data. Okay. So it is saying cannot be open because it is okay. So we are getting this error because of the permission issue that we were talking about in the start. Because we removed the role assignment from here, that is why we got this particular issue here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add that data storage blob data reader role again to storage blob data reader, right? So this is the role that I'm going to assign to the owner of this account. So let me search, and I have added the member. I am on the review page. Let me assign this particular role to the user that I have selected, and the role has been added. If I come here, I can see the role has been added. If I go back to my Synapse workspace and I run this particular statement here, I should be able to see the data, right? Should not give any errors. Okay, so we have to wait for some time that until the cache has been cleaned created with the new one. So we have to wait for some time. Until then, what we can do, we can refresh our page. Not refresh, we can publish it and then refresh our page so that the content that we have worked so far should be saved on Synapse Analytics. So if I refresh this, now I think I should be able to work, or I should be able to see the data now. Okay, so this is the script. If I select this, click on this run button, okay, still I am not able to. Let, let me just try again and again. I should be able to get the data. Okay, now I have my data. Um, so how this command is being run. So to read a JSON file, to read a JSON file, we use the format as CSV, but but instead of directly using the format, we use some parameters. We use some parameters to define how we are going to read the data from the JSON file. So we are using a field terminator, a field quote, and a row terminator. These are the values which we get from the official documentation, and based on these are the values that are generally being used to display the data from a JSON file in the form of in a CSV format. So what we are doing, we are using the format as CSV. We are using some parameters. How we are using? We are using this JSON content as a single, you can say as a single row or a single column, and based on that, we are getting the data here. As you can see here, it is the rows. We are getting the rows and rows of data. It is not in a proper format. We are just getting the rows, lots of rows, and based on that, we are just having the data here in the form of array or in the form of rows as we have defined in this particular statement. Based on that, it has given us the data here. So then if we want to, to see the data properly, what we are doing, the next command that we have used here is that we are using particular JSON value, that single row, that single column, as you can say. We are using that, and we are converting it into a column. with the name of correlation ID. So we are using this and we have converted it into a number, into a column whose name is correlation ID. We are using an alias of correlation ID. So we have done that for all the columns that we have seen so far in the previous tables. And then in the end, we are using the open row set function. We are using the bulk statement here to get the data. Let me change the link for my file, right? And then everything is same, right? The format, the terminators or the parameters are same. With what? With JSON content, and the variable character is set to maximum, and how we are, and how as rows. If I run this, so you'll be able to see the data in a proper format, right? So as you can see here, we have the data in proper formatting now. So this is how we can read the data from JSON file as well. So, so far today we have seen and worked with three types of files: CSV, Parquet, and JSON. And with that, we have come to the end of our first day for our session for our first day. So till here, do you have any questions?
Nothing other than those which I asked during the
Oh,
session.
okay. So thank you so much for today, and I believe this everything has been clear to you. And with that, we can end our session for today. So let
Yeah,
me, yes,
thank you, Pulkit. I'll also go through the labs and will let you know if I face any difficulties or any issues there.
okay. Okay. So thank you very much.